everyone, welcome back. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I have done a question and answer video before a couple of months ago now, I think it was, but today's is going to be all about kind of wedding and relationship questions, as today, as you're watching this, it is mine and Tommy's first year wedding anniversary. I'm going to start off with a question off Instagram, and this one was from Ellie Tolland. I'm sorry if I've said your name wrong, Ellie, and her question is, how did you find it living together when you first moved together? So when we first moved in together properly, we'd already basically lived together for quite a long time. Not fully, as in we weren't sharing bills or paying for things like that, but actually spending time together and being together around each other for a long time we'd already done, as Tom had kind of like his own corridor in his dad's house where he had his own bathroom and his own bedroom, so it meant that we had kind of like our own space, and I just used to stay there all the time, or he'd stay at mine, and we were together all the time. If we weren't at work or college, then we were together. So we'd already spent quite a lot of time together in that respect. When we first moved in together in our first house, which was in Liverpool, where we did have bills to pay and sort out electricity bills and buying furniture and stuff, it was completely fine. I mean, there's things that are going to annoy you when you first move in with someone, so things like that I wouldn't put all my clothes away, or that he wouldn't tidy up after he'd cooked something in the kitchen, or little things like that, but that's just life and we still do that now. But there wasn't really anything that we struggled with. The next question is from Twitter, and this is from Tara Jones, and she's asked, where were the two of you married? So we actually got married in Devon, which is about 6 to 7 hours, I want to say, away from where we live. So I'm from Blackpool, which is all the way in the north of England, and Devon is all the way in the south. We were originally going to get married abroad. We just wanted a really small ceremony. The thought of having a massive wedding petrified me. It still does. We couldn't go where we wanted to go to get married abroad because it's just getting too pricey. So we then started looking for a venue that was in England, but that was still really small and quaint and pretty, that would basically tick all of the boxes, and it just so happened that the one that we liked the best was in Devon. We didn't see it before we went to get married there. We only saw pictures online, and it was absolutely beautiful. It was everything that we imagined. We had a ceremony in kind of like a little summer house, and it was perfect. I think I might share some of our pictures on the blog sometime soon. We did have quite a stressful time on the lead up to the wedding, I think, as most people do with different things, but the actual day was exactly what we both wanted, and we basically didn't take into consideration anybody else's thoughts or opinions, because I think you've just got to do what you want to do, and people aren't always going to agree with what you do. They're not always going to like it, but in 20 years time they're not going to really think about our wedding day. They're not going to remember it in such a vivid way, whereas Tom and I will, and I want us to be able to look back on it to a day and look at the pictures. That was exactly what we wanted, and it was. So that's that. And then she also asked, where did we go on our honeymoon? So we went to 2 places up for our honeymoon, because things where we could have saved a bit of money, we did. We wanted to spend the money that we did save on our honeymoon. So first we went to New York, and we went there for 4 days, I think it was, and it was incredible, absolutely amazing. And then from there, because we wanted to go to St. Lucia, and to get to St. Lucia you had to stop in America, so we thought we might as well stop and stay there for a little while and then go on to St. Lucia. So that's why we went to New York first, and then we flew to St. Lucia. It was just really nice. It was completely relaxing, gorgeous weather, and it was incredible. So a really, really amazing experience. Jordan Winter asked, what was your favourite part of planning your wedding? So the favourite part of planning the wedding, it was a little bit tricky. I basically planned it all on my own. Obviously I had Tom's opinion, but probably the bit that I liked the most was bringing everything together. I think because when you're planning a wedding, you don't really know what it's going to look like until everybody's there and the pictures are taken, but choosing things like the photographer, and I think because I knew exactly what I wanted, I knew what kind of makeup artist I wanted, I knew what kind of photographer I wanted, it made it a little bit easier because I knew I had the vision in my head what I wanted it to be like. That side of it was not very stressful at all, and I don't know, I enjoyed planning it on my own because I just got everything done, and it meant that we got exactly what it was we wanted. But I wouldn't say there was anything in particular that stands out that was the favourite part, because it is quite tricky. Jodie Ellis Pownell asked on Twitter, how long were you two together before you got engaged, married, and how old are both of you? So I am now 24 as of last Thursday, and Thomas is 25. He will be 26 in August. When we were engaged, I'm really bad with this. When we got engaged, we'd been together for 4 years, I want to say. I think we were together 4 years when we got engaged, and before we were engaged, I kept saying to Thomas, I'm 20 or 21. I do not want to be engaged when I'm this young. We know we want to be together, let's just wait a few years, blah blah blah. And then one day I thought, actually I'm only saying that because I feel like everyone around me thinks that people think we're too young to be engaged. We got married, we've been together 8 years in January, so I think we got married 3 years after we got engaged, so we'd been together 7 years, and now we've been married a year, so that means we've been together for 8 years, so it's something like that. So we'd been together for 7 years when we got married, I think. Thomas is probably going to correct me on this because he remembers dates so much better than I do. Laura Gamble on Instagram asked me, what's it like living with a guy? I kind of touched on this before, but it was fine. I come from a household where for many, many years it was just my mum and my 3 sisters and me, so we were an all-girls household. I do have male cousins, but really I'd just been surrounded by girls. I didn't really have many friends that were boys, so getting used to living with a boy was a little bit strange at first, but because we had spent so much time together at his dad's house and him staying at mine, at my mum's house, it wasn't really anything new. We didn't really have to get used to anything. As long as you don't take anything too seriously, like for instance, it would be so easy to get really annoyed when somebody leaves pots on the side for days on end, or they don't replace the toilet roll after they've used it all. But I think at the end of the day, compared to a lot of other things, they are tiny, tiny things, and if you're gonna get like worked up about the little things when you're living together, you're just not gonna stand a chance. You just got to be light-hearted and not take anything too seriously, I think. And then she also asked, how do we make time for ourselves in the relationship? So as much as we spend a lot of time together, we've worked together for quite a long time through our relationship, so we were together like every day, all day. I think it is important just to allow yourself some alone time. So for instance, there's quite often nights, maybe 2 nights a week, where we'll sit in the living room together, but we'll be doing our own thing. So I might be writing a blog post or watching something on YouTube, he'll be watching The Office or playing FIFA. And that doesn't happen too often, because I think once you start getting in at night and you don't speak to each other and you do your own separate things, then you're in trouble. I think you just get into kind of like a routine where you know what things you like to do separately, and you've just got to make time for that, because I think that is quite important. Zoella Sugg, which isn't the actual Zoella Sugg, she has a fan account on Instagram, which is really, really good if any of you like that kind of thing. She asked, do me and Tom ever want children? And also I think Hayley from It's Just Hayley D on YouTube asked me how many children we want. So I'll kind of combine these together. So yes, we want children. Thomas would have them now if he had his own way, but I think we're still a little bit too young. I have, especially now where I feel like I'm just coming into my own person and YouTube's just kicking off, I've got my blog, I've just done my makeup course, and we're moving house literally at the end of this month. I think we've got enough going on at the moment, projects wise and career wise and things like that, to fill our time. I think if we introduced a baby into the mix right now, a lot of other things would get pushed to the side, whereas I think it's important that we just spend a little bit of time focusing on ourselves, what we want to do before we have children. If it happened by accident or by chance that I did fall pregnant right now, I would be so excited and so happy. I do think we've got an amazing relationship, and obviously we've only been married for a year, but I think we're both going to make really good parents, and there is still so much that we want to do, but there's more that we want to do before we have children. And I think once you've got a baby, a lot of things change. I want as many children as possible. I would say 5, 6, 7 children. I'm quite happy to be the next Von Trapp family. Thomas probably only wants about 4, but I just love the idea of having a massive family, of having so many children that they're all completely different, but they've all got each other to have support from. I think because I've got 3 younger sisters and I'm from quite a big family, I want our children to experience that and to know what it's like to have a lot of people around you that you can rely on, as well as friends. So I would definitely have quite a lot of children, but we'll see what happens. It's .amy_ on Instagram asked, was I nervous on my wedding day? If so, what was I nervous about? I was so nervous. I am a very, very nervous person. I worry about everything. I've always been like that, I think, and it's just one of those things. But your wedding day, I think because we spent so long planning it, you don't really think that it's an actual thing because you're getting ready for it for a long time. And then when we went down to Devon, we went down a couple of days before, and we still had so much to do with organising things at the venues and getting everything ready that there still wasn't time to think. On the day, we got up at 7 o'clock, and my bridesmaids came to where we were staying and got ready with me and my mum, and Thomas went off to his best man's where they were staying, to their accommodation, to get ready there. And even still, I wasn't really nervous because there was so much to do. I had to paint my nails, had to get my hair done, my makeup done, this, that and the other. We had to talk to the registrars, and there was so much to do. The only time that I got nervous was when I was getting my makeup done, because I couldn't talk. Because I just had 45 minutes to an hour, I just sat on my own with the makeup artist and didn't speak. That's when I started thinking about things like, oh my goodness, I'm about to walk down the aisle. This is my wedding day. Everything that I've planned has to come together. And that's the only thing, because I did plan quite a lot of it on my own, there wasn't really anyone else to blame if something didn't go to plan. So that was another thing that I got worried about. I was nervous that I wouldn't look how I wanted to look in my dress. I was nervous that something would go wrong. The thing that I was most nervous about was the thought that this was my wedding day. This is going to be my only wedding day. I want everything to fall into place, and if anything went wrong, it was going to be on me. But luckily, nothing did go wrong. It was perfect. So I was really lucky in that respect. Rosie Rushton asked, how did we afford to move out and move in together? So basically, and like I said to her, a lot of hard work. We kind of have always had people looking in from the outside, thinking that we've got this perfect relationship, that we're these two perfect people with 2 perfect jobs, perfect houses, perfect dogs, perfect cars, and that we have basically just stumbled upon it. And there was a very big assumption when we both worked at Domino's, which is where we met, that Thomas's dad had bought Thomas's first car, had bought our first house. Everybody always assumes, and that really gets on my nerves, because nobody really knows. The more things that people know about you in the material way, the more they think they know you and the more they assume. Without going into too much detail, because we were quite young when we first got our first house, but our first house we wouldn't have had if it wasn't for Thomas. He had a very good job. He worked at Domino's as a manager for a few years and basically saved up all of his money because he was amazing at saving. He worked all the hours under the sun and he saved and saved and saved. Then he kind of moved on in his career and got a better job, and again he just saved and saved and saved, and he wanted to put his money into something and he wanted that to be a house, and it just so happened that we ended up going in for a new build. He was going to rent it out, but then we thought, do you know what, let's just move in together. And that's how we kind of stumbled into it. It was never a plan that we were going to move in together in Liverpool, which was where I was at uni at the time. And then I had my student loans, my student grants, which rather than spending on clothes or going out, I never ever went out when I was at uni. I put into a savings account, so I used that for a deposit for a new car. We put that towards the house deposit. We used it to pay the bills. We were just kind of very clever with our money in the way that we spent it and saved it. And even now, we're obviously in a completely different situation, but it's still very much the same. You know, things like, so if one of us got a new car, it was always a thing of, oh my God, you've got another new car. But there's a thing called finance. We didn't just go out and spend £10,000 on a brand new car. I've never had a brand new car. We just paid monthly for it. Things like buying a new TV, we paid monthly for it. Things like a sofa, we paid monthly. We never had cash to just spend how we wanted it. We always worked out the best way to use our money and used it in the way that we wanted to. You know, things like birthday presents, we'd ask for money. We wanted a new dining table, we asked for money for our birthdays, we bought a new dining table. And I just think if you have moved out and you've experienced that, you know what it's like. But if you haven't, and you're quite young, and I know I'm still quite young, but life just moved very quickly for me. I don't know, everybody's life plans out differently, and it doesn't always necessarily go the way you want it to go, the way you think it's going to go, but eventually it all kind of comes together. My sister Emma asked 3 questions, and the first one was, when and how did I know that Tom was the one? When I first met Tom, I was his first girlfriend, he was my first boyfriend, and I never ever intended him to be my first and only boyfriend. I'd never really given it much thought. I never thought I'd ever have a boyfriend. I was so unconfident when I met him. When we first met each other, I really didn't like him, and then we got really close as friends, and we were best friends for almost a year before we got together. Like, we just stay up texting each other on the phone, not talking about anything in particular, just random things that friends talk about. And then I think we both just realised that we kind of liked each other a little bit more than just friends. And then it was a bit of a whirlwind, really. I think, I don't want to sound too cheesy or cliche, but we knew pretty early on that we wanted to be together, and you know, we had moved in together after 2 or 3 years. We were engaged after 4, and he's literally like my left arm, and I don't know what I'd do without him, basically. When you you can't imagine your life without the other person, that's when you know that he's the one, or she's the one. And I think that that's what happened with us too. She also asked, when he proposed, what did it feel like? When he proposed, I was not expecting it whatsoever. He was acting so different to how he usually acts, and I was just like, I just thought, why is he acting so weird? But even then I didn't think that he was going to propose. And we got to kind of 3/4 of the way round, and he just stopped and proposed. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, oh my goodness, this is happening. Like, my heart was beating so fast. I was in complete shock. Like, I did not expect it whatsoever, and I just couldn't believe it. And obviously I said yes, and it was incredible. Like, the feeling of I don't know, just acknowledging your love for each other, and it was such a shock, but it was an incredible feeling, honestly. And then she's put, you always seem so happy, what are you doing so right? Again, people often look at others through rose-tinted glasses, and that we always look so happy. We've had periods in our relationship where we haven't been happy. I have had a few quite difficult years, and I think Thomas for a little while struggled with how to cope. Even at the time, I didn't know how to cope with that, and it might be something that I do talk about on this channel at some point, but at the moment it's not something that I'm going to get into. And then you have the things of, you know, we are so young, should we be together? We are so young, should we be engaged? Do we actually want to be together forever? But you always those little quabbles and the little arguments that you have, you always get over, I think, if it is meant to be. And we are happy. We do have days where we will, like last night, we were both so tired, we were both so grumpy with each other. But then at one point during the night I just said, I know we're both really grumpy and we're really tired, but can we just remember that we do love each other and that it's just because we're tired. And sometimes we are a bit naughty with each other, but I think as long as you remember that it's just because you're tired, you've had a long day, and that you're there for each other and that you support each other through that, because that's life, you'll be okay. I think as long as you are there for the other person and you still make them laugh, you still make them smile, you've still got something to talk about, you can get through together, then you'll be all right. There are all the questions that I got asked. I love these more personal videos. I had the most incredible wedding day. I honestly feel like I am married to my best friend. He's the love of my life and I can't imagine not being with him. Knowing that you've got somebody that you absolutely adore for the rest of your life, I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's an incredible feeling and it's something to really grasp onto. If you're single and you don't want to get married for another 10, 20 years, go with that. Everybody's different. I'm not saying that everybody should get married at 24 if you are with someone that you love completely, because everybody's life's different, everybody is different and everything plans out differently. You've just got to do what feels right for you at that moment in time. That's what we've done all our lives, and although sometimes it hasn't planned out the way that we thought it might, most of the times, because we've got each other, we've been completely fine. So just be whoever you want to be and just go with it. I really hope you've enjoyed this video and that it's not been too waffly. Any comments you want to leave, please do. Please subscribe and I will see you all very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye! So I'm here this week as I'm doing a makeup course with Sam and Nicola Chapman, who are the Pixie sisters on YouTube. You've probably heard of them. They also have designed the Real Techniques brushes